Hello, my dear friends. How are you doing? Hope you are having an amazing day and not having to deal with drama. Ready for new stories I have for you today? Let's go to the first one. And don't forget to listen to the end of the story, guys, to hear my insights. Enjoy the stories. And don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. So here's my little slice of family drama. Brace yourselves, because it sounds like something out of a soap opera. My 18 male, father, 52 male, left my mom, 45 female, 2 years ago for another woman, 37 female, who we'll call Sandra. My mom and dad had been together for almost 30 years, and while no marriage is perfect, it seemed like they were happy. Then, almost out of nowhere, my dad drops the bombshell that he's leaving to be with Sandra, someone he'd apparently been seeing on the side. The affair revelation alone was enough to send my mom spiraling, but she kept her dignity intact and let him go without making a huge fuss. For the past 2 years, it's been weird. My dad expects me to play happy family with Sandra, and while I try to stay civil for the sake of peace, I don't think I'll ever be over the way he left us. My mom has tried to move on too, but I can tell it's still hard for her, especially since she was blindsided by the whole thing. Fast forward to now. My dad and Sandra are getting married. I'd already made up my mind to attend the wedding out of respect, even though it feels like betraying my mom in a way. But I figured, okay, he's my dad, and I should at least show up, right? I've been keeping things on the surface level with Sandra and limiting my time around them. But that didn't stop her from pulling a power move recently that threw me for a loop. Just a few days ago, I get an email from Sandra titled, "Important, Wedding Preparation." I opened it up, and it's not an invite or anything wedding related. Nope, it's a nondisclosure agreement. This NDA is detailed, and the gist of it is that she wants me to sign a document stating that I won't share any information with my mom about her or my dad's relationship, or anything I see or hear in the house. You read that right. She doesn't want me to tell my mom a single thing about what goes on with him. I stared at the screen, jaw on the floor. My first thought was, is this woman serious? It's not like I'm running to my mom with gossip about their lives, but having it demanded of me felt wrong on every level. So I did what any normal person would do in that situation. I laughed. Out loud and hard. Then, once the shock wore off, I sent a polite but firm email back saying, "No, I won't be signing this. I find it unnecessary and invasive." I thought that would be the end of it. Maybe she'd roll her eyes and they'd let it go. But oh no. Sandra apparently saw my refusal as an affront to her authority, because within hours, my dad was calling me. Here's how that conversation went. Dad: "Hey, so Sandra told me you refused to sign the NDA. Me: "Yeah, because it's ridiculous. She wants me to sign away my right to talk to my mom about my own family." Dad: "It's not about that. It's about privacy. Sandra wants to feel secure. She's worried things will get back to your mother that could make her life difficult." Me: "What exactly does she think I'm going to tell Mom? Besides, if she's so worried, why not just stop causing drama?" He tried to give me this whole spiel about moving forward and how Sandra feels insecure about her relationship with my dad, and she thinks I might actually cause issues. I was practically choking on my disbelief at this point. This was the woman he left my mom for, and now she's scared my mom will hear too much? I asked him, why should I keep secrets from Mom? She's already been hurt enough. Then my dad hit me with the kicker. "Sandra says if you don't sign, she'll reconsider the wedding. She's really taking this seriously, and I think it would be good for all of us to respect her wishes." I was floored. This woman is so insecure that she's willing to pull the entire wedding if I won't sign some twisted promise of silence? My dad actually seemed desperate, almost pleading with me to just go along with it. He kept saying things like, "You don't have to mean it. It's just a formality, and it would mean the world to us." At that point, I had enough. I told him flat out that if this was the condition for his wedding, I wouldn't be a part of it. I'd rather cut myself off than sign away my right to be honest with my own mother. I told him, "You know what? If you think Sandra's ultimatum is more important than having a relationship with your son, that's on you. Have a nice life." Then I hung up. Since then, my dad has called several times, and I haven't answered. I know he's upset, but I feel like I was given an impossible choice. Either I betray my mom by signing some ludicrous loyalty oath to his mistress-turned-fiancé, or I lose my father over something he shouldn't have asked me in the first place. Now my family is divided. Some of them are saying Sandra's request is outrageous and that my dad should have backed me up. But a few relatives have chimed in saying I'm being dramatic and that it's not worth losing family over a piece of paper. They think I should just sign it and keep the peace, especially since Sandra and my dad are building a life together. My mom, however, hasn't commented much, only telling me she's sorry I'm going through this and that I should do what feels right. So here I am, stuck wondering if I'm becoming the villain in my own story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to sign my dad's fiancé's NDA and telling him off, even if it means missing their wedding? This woman is giving massive red flags. It's beyond unreasonable for her to expect OP to essentially sign away his right to communicate with his mother. OP's dad should be standing up for OP, not trying to appease her absurd insecurities. Good for OP for standing his ground. And now let's hear the community's opinion. Honestly, you're better off without people like that in your life. It sounds like Sandra's trying to erase her own wrongdoing and control the narrative. I can't believe your dad would rather lose his relationship with you than say no to her. You deserve better, OP. Not the a-hole. He has no right to demand you stay silent to your own mother about anything, let alone her relationship with your dad. If your father can't see why this is ridiculous, then maybe it's best that you put some distance between you. Stay strong. I've heard of family members being overbearing, but this takes the cake. Sandra wants you to agree to secrecy, and your dad just goes along with it? That's next-level manipulative. It might hurt now, but this is probably a blessing in disguise. You did the right thing, OP. Update. I wanted to share what's happened since I decided to go no contact with my father. After our last phone conversation, where I told him I wasn't going to sign the NDA and wouldn't attend the wedding, I half expected him to reach out, to at least try to talk things through. He's still my father, and despite everything, a part of me hoped he'd realize what he was asking was unreasonable and damaging. I figured that once he'd cooled down, he'd realize that he couldn't cut me out of his life over something as ridiculous as an NDA. But weeks passed, and I heard nothing. The silence was hard. I kept checking my phone, waiting for some sort of message, a call, anything that would show he cared enough to reach out. But as time went on, it became clear that he had made his choice, and that choice didn't include me. I started feeling like I'd been abandoned all over again, like I was reliving that moment from 2 years ago when he walked out on my mom and me. Then, one day, I found out through a family friend that the wedding had gone ahead without me. There was no grand announcement or any invitation or reconciliation. He just went through with it as though I didn't matter. The wedding was a small affair, mostly her family and a few close friends. Some extended family was invited, but even those who went told me later that my absence wasn't mentioned. Apparently, he acted as if everything was normal, and no one questioned why his only son wasn't there. It felt like a punch to the gut, hearing how he'd chosen to move forward without a second thought. In the days following, I tried to convince myself that I'd done the right thing. I thought maybe this is for the best. But I won't lie. A part of me kept wondering if I should have just swallowed my pride and signed the NDA for the sake of keeping a relationship with him. I replayed our last conversation in my head 1,000 times, wondering if I was being too stubborn or letting my resentment get the best of me. Yet every time I pictured myself signing that document, it felt like I'd be betraying my own values and my mom, who had gone through enough already. Since the wedding, there's been complete radio silence from my dad. It's been months, and he hasn't tried to reach out or reconcile, even though he knows I've cut off contact. No, I'm sorry. No attempt to make amends. Nothing. At this point, I'm not even sure if he cares. The person I grew up with, the man who raised me, feels like a stranger now. He's become someone who's willing to put his fiancé's insecurities above his own son's well-being. And that's a painful reality to accept. My fiancé, 42 female, moved into my, 41 male, house this August after giving birth to our daughter. We were engaged 5 years ago, and after a lot of emotional conversations right before she found out she was pregnant, I ended up agreeing to a small wedding in March of 2021. My fiancé gained a significant amount of weight during her pregnancy. I could guess at least 60 pounds. Before getting pregnant, she and I were both CrossFit, rowing enthusiasts, but after having our daughter, she barely wanted to walk, much less exercise. She never got her love for working out back, but we did start cooking healthier food together. However, in early November, her brother died and her estranged parents wouldn't let her go to the funeral. She began binging on fast food, and while I tried to help with getting her help, But at that point, I had to do a lot of self-contemplation because she wasn't the woman I fell in love with, and she barely showed me affection anymore. Recently, after getting her dress altered, she started crying because it still wouldn't fit. The seamstress said something about the limited fabric available on the dress that makes them unable to take it out any further. I got that she was hurting from her brother, but I also remember when she took me with her and her cousin that she ended up buying a dress that was, in her words, aspirational. The whole time I was thinking how crazy the sales lady was for selling a dress that somebody didn't quite fit into yet. However, my fiancé insisted she knew how to get in shape for it. Her parents wouldn't contribute to her wedding, and she's unemployed, so I paid for it. My fiancé confronted me the other day. She said she knows we don't celebrate Christmas, but for the sake of the holidays, she would want nothing more than a new dress and said we could sell the old dress to pay for it. She promised to be as frugal as I'd like. At this point, I'm just so exasperated with all the drama, and I know that selling it won't even give us 50% of what I paid for it. So I told her I didn't want to go through this expensive ordeal again, and that this wedding date was now too close for comfort. I said to move it back and maybe this dress thing wouldn't be a problem. She started crying and thanking me sarcastically of setting a great example for our daughter, who I'm sure totally understands why this dress thing is such a big deal. Am I the a-hole? My fiancé is now not talking to me on Christmas because I had called some of my friends to ask if they would be okay with waiting up for a future update on when our wedding is actually going to be. We were going to do a courthouse thing anyway, so I don't see how asking our friends who are all local that we're holding off is that big a deal. Most of all, I cannot believe how much drama has been involved in a dress and this entire prospective event for the end goal of a mere signed piece of paper, when we were fine before this all happened. It's giving me too much of a migraine. Yes, the a-hole. You are upset that she's fat. You're annoyed she's depressed. You want everything back the way it was before you say I do. She gave birth, lost her brother, where she couldn't even say goodbye properly. She needs therapy, not whatever the heck you're pulling. Yes, the a-hole. I believe you should not get married. Her body doesn't meet with your requirements. The fact that she recently gave birth to your child and then lost her brother means nothing to you. Your concern is with her dress size. Cut her loose. Find a woman who suits you. Allow her to find a man who loves her. Yes, the a-hole. This whole thing screams, I don't want to get married. And she knows it. She's not an idiot. She can feel him pulling away. She had a baby in August. She's still healing and adjusting to a major life change. Yeah, no doubt she doesn't want to exercise. She made and pushed out a baby, and now has to figure out how to be a mom with no support from her family, a judgmental partner, and to top it off, her only family she has a relationship with died. Yes, the a-hole, massively. Have some compassion, and if you don't want to be with this woman, don't be. Sounds like you were planning to leave her before she got pregnant. Don't use her struggles as an excuse. Be honest, and be a better co-parent than you are a partner right now. Being a parent is bloody hard, especially with a young baby, and it will test any relationship. But if you communicate and work as a team, it will pay off wonderfully. If you actually want to be with the person, not just because you had a baby together. My wife and I have been together 4 years. I always knew they were close, and I respected that. When I say close, I mean daily video chats, and they would cuddle on the couch whenever her sister visited. And they both teared up when I mentioned our retirement fantasy farm could have a granny cottage for my sister-in-law to live in. Well, a few months ago, we agreed for my sister-in-law to move in, and it's driving me insane. These two are codependent to the extreme. They stalk each other on a tracking app. My wife constantly texts sister-in-law during dates to remind her to use protection. They work out our finances together. And sister-in-law is like a cliché nagging wife who actually tries to forbid my wife from things. My wife showed interest in a rugby club. Rugby is a passion of mine. Sister-in-law told her no, insisted that my wife will get injured and forever ruin her military career. We have a motorcycle. Sister-in-law keeps voicing disapproval and has requested my wife stop riding. She even tried saying that even though our state permits lane splitting, it's illegal federally, so wife can't do it. Last I checked, W is illegal federally, and you've done that. We're gay and saving up for Dinah Shore because it's a bucket list event for us. Sister-in-law started lecturing my wife that we shouldn't be spending money on that and should be financially responsible. She leased a brand new car and doesn't have a job. We're already paying rent, utilities, and the phone bill, and she said she might need our help soon if her savings run out before she gets a job. Who needs to be financially responsible? What gets me the most is they do everything together. Gym, errands, sister-in-law controls the TV, cooking, dieting, naps. I don't even get to nap with my wife without having sister-in-law right next to us. I keep asking my wife when the hell I'll stop being the third wheel, and she just gets angry and tells me that they're twins and I don't understand the relationship. I may not be a twin, but I am friends with 3 other sets and with 2 separate parents of adult twins. They are all functioning individuals who have their own lives. They are best friends with their twin, but put their spouses first. I'm not going to give an ultimatum, but am I really an a-hole for wanting to come first sometimes? Not the a-hole. You're trying to start a life with your wife, and her sister is trying to control everything and change your wife's lifestyle to fit her own. That's not right. Edit. I wouldn't have let her move in, but you couldn't have known it would be this bad. Not the a-hole. This kind of sibling closeness is over the top, and if you are her wife, you two are building your life together. Your marriage is something special between the two of you. Your sister-in-law has no right to derail or interfere with your marriage in this case. It sounds to me like you would like a healthy relationship with your wife, and that is normal, reasonable, and fair. Not the a-hole. This is extremely toxic to a wild degree. You need to go around this carefully for obvious reasons, but this would drive me beyond insane. Your wife's twin is, in short, running your marriage. I'm not sure the right way to deal with this, but it has to be addressed. Mother-in-law was supposed to come to our wedding with her fiancé, Brad. But a few weeks before the wedding, Brad and my husband got into an insane fight. I've never seen my husband act like that. We were actually kicked out of a restaurant, which was mortifying, and unforgivable things were said on both sides. This whole fight started over who was to pay for dinner on mother-in-law's birthday. Both offered to pay. This fight was so bad that honestly, I don't ever want to see Brad again. He is banned from our house. We're banned from theirs. Mother-in-law texted my husband and said she still loves him and will be there for his wedding if he wants her. But she doesn't see them having much of a relationship ever again because of the severity of this fight. We agreed that she should bring a friend as her +1. I expected them to leave somewhat early because mother-in-law wouldn't know many people there and isn't a social person, and her friend despises my parents. But I was surprised when they tried to leave right after the ceremony. I found this extremely rude, as we had paid for dinner per person, and I was always taught that you don't leave a wedding until the cake cutting. My husband pointed that out, but mother-in-law said she just felt weird and wanted to go home to Brad. Her friend laughed and said mother-in-law was a liar and she wanted to go to someone's birthday party. My husband was like, fine, do whatever. I made a joke that we paid a lot of money for dinner and maybe I would send her a tab. Mother-in-law looked pretty upset and stormed off. My husband said it was the wrong time to joke and came off as tacky because she wasn't obligated to eat dinner. Mother-in-law sent him a long angsty text, not her usual style at all, about how I was being a bee and she was extremely uncomfortable being there. She realized she had made a mistake and I should have let her leave without caring about money. She said we were invalidating her feelings because, of course, she didn't want to go to a birthday party, though social media proves she did go. And it was very hard for her to be there because she is still so angry over the fight. Everyone sucks here. I make jokes too when I'm uncomfortable and or angry to try and defuse the awkwardness and tension. So I get it. I've put my foot in my mouth plenty of times. Your mother-in-law sucks because she didn't want to see her son get married and showed through her actions how much she cared about this life-changing moment for him. Also, for choosing a man over her son. Really though, some detail into the fight would be helpful on clarifying the situation. Seems unusual for a fight to escalate to the length this one has as far as family ties being broken over who's going to pay for dinner. Mother-in-law had been having issues with my husband for a couple years due to her hatred of me. They were so close, and now it is really tense. When they started getting heated over the check, Brad said, "Your mom doesn't want or need anything from you." And that just triggered my husband. It got really nasty from there, bringing up Brad's past from like 15 years ago, calling my husband a failure and belittling his career, insulting each other's partners. Not the a-hole. A lot of people try to defuse tense situations with a joke, and obviously it didn't land. The issue isn't with you, it's with the husbands having a battle over dinner. This was on your wedding day? Weren't there other more enjoyable things you could have been enjoying rather than keeping tabs on your mother-in-law and making a passive-aggressive joke? I don't see the family coming together anytime soon. Well done for helping. Yes, the a-hole. My 36 female, husband, 42, died some time ago and was cremated. We had been together for 20 years and married for 18. At the time, even though I didn't want to, I agreed to give my mother-in-law a small urn with ashes, and the rest I have kept with the intention of scattering them when the time is right. About a year after my husband died, my sister-in-law, 40, asked if she can have a little bit of his ashes to incorporate into some jewelry. She has also posted excessively on social media about how much she misses him and about how he's always been her hero. The thing is, although they were close-ish as children, they barely spoke for the last 10 years of his life, except for by phone at each other's birthdays, at Christmas, and occasionally at family events. Mostly this was because we lived on opposite sides of the country, not because of any bad feelings. However, when my husband had his accident that ultimately led to his death, we tried to let family know how bad it was and asked for help, but only my family came to help, even though they also lived far away. My husband was very hurt by this. Despite the accident, his death was sudden and unexpected and took everyone by surprise. So, sister-in-law never saw him before he passed, and last saw him 3 years earlier at a family member's birthday party. Anyways, back to the ashes. I didn't want to separate the ashes any more than they had been, and I wanted to scatter them all together in a meaningful place. So, I said no. I also said I was uncomfortable with turning the ashes into jewelry. I know some people find comfort in this, and I respect that for them, but I don't want my husband commemorated this way. I also wasn't ready to scatter the ashes, so I didn't want to unseal the urn to access the ashes. In response, I received a long message telling me I'm being selfish and disrespectful. He was her brother for 38 years, and I shouldn't get to tell her how to grieve. I should also give her ashes like I did my mother-in-law, because I'm just going to be throwing them away when I scatter them. I never responded to the message, and she has since cut off all contact with myself and my children, 4 children under 12. A family member has suggested that I reach out and try to mend the rift, but I'm still hurt by her accusations, and I'm not willing to endure the argument again. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. I find it funny that she's accusing you of telling her how to grieve. Yet she also is arguing that you scattering his ashes when you're ready is just you throwing them away. You're not somehow disrespecting her grief just because you're not letting her get her way. Not the a-hole. Not everyone grieves the same way. That is true. But you are in no way wrong to deny access to the ashes before you are ready. You also have every right to grief. Why didn't she ask her mother? If you really want to compromise, in the future, tell her that you will give her some ashes only when scattering them, but you'll have to do it. No going back from that promise. By the way, no contact with her may be a blessing for you and the kids. Not the a-hole, and she's being way unreasonable if she thinks she can have some of his ashes turned into jewelry after barely seeing him and not caring about him. Keep holding on to the ashes and to your great memories with him, and get away from this family. Okay, sorry, this needs a bit of backstory. I've, 25 female, been best friends with Lisa, 25 female, since I was a little kid. We met in kindergarten and the rest is history. When we were 18, Lisa began dating my older brother, James, 27 male. I'll admit when it happened I was not happy. My brother has never been good to women and I was worried about my friend. I'll also admit I was childish and didn't want to share her. Lisa gave me an ultimatum of accept this or lose her anyway, so I accepted. For a while it seemed really great. They dated all throughout Lisa and my college years. They were sweet and talking about marriage. Then, out of the blue, James dumped Lisa. He didn't give an explanation. A few months later, he brought Allison, 27 female, around. I can't prove there was overlap, but based on the way they celebrate anniversaries, it couldn't have been more than a week gap. Allison instantly began causing problems. As I said, I've known Lisa since I was a kid, and ever since her parents died, she spent all major holidays with us. Allison thought this was unacceptable and disrespectful. My brother sided with her and threatened to stop attending. In response, I threatened to celebrate with Lisa alone. My brother folded, but this has been a constant argument. Now, the recent problem. Lisa is getting married. I'm really excited and have been really busy as the maid of honor. Of course, our whole family is planning to attend and have been talking about it a ton. Well, Allison has recently announced that she's pregnant. My parents are overjoyed and very excited, though clearly still very busy with Lisa's wedding. However, they've tried to help in any way possible. Allison called them unsupportive, and to prove it, went about doing a test. She's setting her baby shower on the same day as the wedding, and making it clear anyone who can't attend the baby shower isn't allowed to see her child. My parents are devastated. They're playing huge roles in Lisa's wedding, but of course they want a relationship with their grandchild. I'm refusing to attend the baby shower, and I told my parents if they choose to go, I won't speak to them again. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. She specifically chose a date she knew would cause issues. You need to talk to your brother about it and see if he can smooth the way to not causing drama within the family. He's knowingly allowing this to unfold and cause issues within your family, and that makes him culpable in it as well. Not the a-hole. Allison seems like a bad and insecure person. Why should you not prioritize someone who has acted almost like a sister for most of your life? Weddings are a once-in-a-lifetime thing and cannot be moved. The baby shower, on the other hand, can very easily be moved to another day. Not the a-hole, OP. However, don't get your parents into this. This is their grandchild after all, and they should care.